In today's episode, I'm bringing you 10 mega sport fragrances that'll keep you smelling fresh and clean throughout even the toughest of workouts. You might even have your eye on the brunette on the next treadmill and want to mesmerise her with your sexy scent trail. But whatever the reason, these 10 fragrances will have you smelling like the don of the gym. So to find out which ones I recommend, stay tuned to Mag's Frags. Yes, hello again everybody, and thank you very much once again for tuning into this latest episode of Mag's Frags. My name's Paul, and today I'm going to be recommending 10 great smelling sport fragrances that I think should be in your gym bag in 2022. And if you're a little bit confused and a bit unsure as to what the category of sport fragrances actually is, you're certainly not alone. But apart from being mainly a huge marketing gimmick, sport fragrances are usually lighter, fresher takes on the originals, and they come in either eau de toilette or eau de cologne concentrations. They're mainly fresh and clean smelling and aim to evoke some kind of outdoor activity, from like sailing to maybe a game of polo. Sport fragrances will normally offer a high impact scent projection for a shorter period of time, so therefore they're usually more affordable on the whole. I'd say pay around maybe £25 to £40 for a good gym scent that you can keep in your gym bag, and you can just give yourself a nice energising blast of freshness before and after every workout. There's a couple of more pricier ones in this particular list, and also some that aren't necessarily branded as sport fragrances as such, but I think they'll do an amazing job to wear in and around the gym. This rundown is in no particular order of preference, because I don't like doing them top 10 lists from worst to best, because if you're like me, you'll just end up skipping straight to the end to see what's at number one, and we don't want that, do we? I want you to watch all of these and see which ones you like. So without further ado, let's crack on and let's get into this, starting off with a brand new release for 2022. Okay, so first up in today's list is the brand new 2022 rework of AZZARO Sport. This is an update to the 2020 release, which featured a red translucent cap, and it's not to be confused with that one. This one basically swaps out the opening note of lavender found in the original to a more fresher, zesty grapefruit note, but the rest all stays the same as the 2020 version, with clary sage in the heart and sandalwood and tonka bean in the base. The result is a more sparkling and uplifting opening, which is really fresh and invigorating. The main player in this fragrance though is the clary sage, which is the key component in the synthesis of ambroxan, so therefore you get a presence of like a semi-sweet blue marine accord for the most part, which is fairly generic but really pleasant all the same. There's sandalwood and tonka bean in the base, which bring a bit of depth and a touch of sweetness, but this is more of like a straight up fresh blue fragrance. The performance is good but not great, and after the first 5 minutes I don't seem to pick up many wafts in the air, but it definitely stays around on skin for about the 2 or 3 hour mark, and you can definitely smell it if you go up close to where you've first applied it. I got this 100ml bottle from the Notino website, and I paid under £25 for it, but there was also a 20% deal on, so I ended up paying about 20 quid for it, and at that price I'd say it's a decent pickup as like a dumb reach grab and go scent. It's versatile and mass appealing, but maybe not one that the collectors or enthusiasts will get too excited by. Okay, so this next one on the list is one that really surprised me when it first came out in 2020, and I received it as a little 1ml carded sample in an order that I placed for another scent, and after giving it a little blast I was actually really impressed with how good it smelled. This is Matchpoint EDT from Lacoste. And the brand also released an EDP version of this earlier this year, which I don't actually own, but I did manage to get my nose in it a few days ago when I was out shopping, and it was really nice, but it just didn't wow me enough to pick up a full bottle of it. And I'd say that a discounted bottle of this original EDT version is probably still your better option. This one is a really likeable and easygoing fragrance with lots of juicy sparkling grapefruit, some lovely spring florals in the heart of the scent, and lots of smooth cashmere in the base. There's a green herbal accord that runs through the fragrance, but it's not bitter in any way, and it's actually a fairly sweet and fruity smelling scent on the whole. It's bright and fresh and clean, and it would be lazy of me to kind of dismiss this as being like a generic fragrance, because it's not. It's definitely unique and it has its own distinctive character, and I don't own any other fragrance that smells the same as this one. The performance is actually quite good for a sport fragrance, and it's one that you'll keep getting wafts from for about the 4 or 5 hour mark. I seem to gravitate towards this one straight after a nice long shower, because it's very clean smelling, like an amped up shower gel. You can pick this up now at a bargain basement price at discounters, and it's a cracking scent to throw in your gym bag if you can pick up a bottle for around about the £30 mark. Okay, so the third one on today's list is a really nice little trip down memory lane for me personally, because it's possibly one of the first fragrances that I ever owned that was solely marketed as a sports fragrance, and this one is Polo Sport by Ralph Lauren. This one came out, it was first launched back in 1994, so it's coming up to being nearly 30 years old now, and I remember this being launched like it was yesterday and seeing it in the GQ magazine with the little scented fold-back flap on the page. I don't know where time goes, but it's crazy. But anyway, this is a fresh aromatic fragrance with over 20 notes listed in the note breakdown, so there's plenty going on in this one for a sports scent. It opens up with a blend of citrus notes, mint, neroli and aldehydes, so you get an instant cool, clean, soapy vibe, which gives you a fresh out of the shower type feeling. There's notes of artemisia, seagrass and 4 different woody notes listed, so don't be fooled by the deep blue colour of the bottle, because this is not what you'd expect. It's actually quite green and outdoorsy when it dries down, and not the blue aquatic that the bottle might suggest. For me, it's the neroli and the jasmine that I can pick up on the most, so it's kind of a clean and soapy accord that's the most dominant to my nose in this one. The performance is good enough to get you through a full workout, and also for a quick blast after you've finished and got out of the shower, but it's not great, and after about the hour or so mark it's barely noticeable. However, you can now pick this one up for around about the £20 mark, so it's cheap enough, and it still smells great. It doesn't smell outdated or old-fashioned whatsoever, so a nice little cheap pickup. Okay, next up is one that's not actually branded as a sports fragrance as such. However, it does smell 98% similar to one that definitely is branded as a sports fragrance, and this one is MISSONI Wave. This one smells extremely similar to Chanel Allure Homme Sport. They also do a pour homme version, which I've done a full review of, which smells very similar to Bleu de Chanel, with the only difference being the price. These are about a third of the price of the Chanel, so if you do love how Chanel fragrances smell and you can't quite stretch to the £100 a bottle mark, then MISSONI might just be the way to go. Both of these are super high quality in terms of how they smell and also how they perform, and even down to the presentation with the inclusion of a really strong magnetic cap. MISSONI Wave opens up extremely fresh with juicy Sicilian mandarin and marine notes, so you get an aquatic aroma with a hint of sweetness from the mandarin. It's really bright and uplifting and not too synthetic smelling, but there's a faint presence of the oak moss, the vetiver and the patchouli in the base that brings a bit of a dry bitterness, like a bit of earthiness in the background. As it dries down, it loses a bit of the zesty freshness and it becomes more of a smooth, creamy smelling scent, but it never becomes overly sweet and it stays fairly bright and uplifting for the most part. If you already own the Chanel Allure Homme Sport, or even if you own a bottle of Versace Pour Homme, this will 100% be a redundant purchase, because there's hardly any noticeable difference between any of these three. But if you don't own either of those that I've just mentioned and you haven't got them in your collection, then this one's definitely a top recommendation. It lasts for ages and it projects really well and smells great. This 50ml bottle was £25, but again with a 20% discount I got this one for 20 quid off the Notino website. There is also a 100ml size for £33 if you've just been paid and you're feeling a little bit more flush. Okay, so this next one is one of my all-time favourite sport fragrances, but it's also one of the more expensive ones on the list, so maybe not one to just casually toss into your gym bag. This is DIOR HOMME Sport, which if you're a regular viewer to the channel, you're probably sick of me banging on about this one. This particular bottle is the 2017 version, which contains the blood orange note, but it's important to note that there's also a 2012 version and a 2021 version, which both contain different notes, but the overall smell is actually quite similar. It's a beautiful, juicy, fresh fragrance with lots of thick citrus fruitiness. The blood orange, the grapefruit and lemon bring lots of bitter tart citrus, but the pear takes away the sharpness and sweetens it up just enough to produce a scent that resembles a delicious fruit juice drink, and it just makes you wish that you could drink it. It's super clean and it's really refreshing on a hot day, and it's about as mass appealing as you're ever likely to get. It is my number one fragrance to wear on a hot day, and also as a gym fragrance, and it has been for many years now. The only downside is that it's quite pricey for a sport fragrance, and this 125ml bottle is going to set you back just over £100, which is not exactly chump change. But if you are serious about smelling like the king of the gym, or you just want to wear something extremely likeable on a hot summer day, then you really need to seriously consider this one. Okay, so my next recommendation in today's list is another fairly new release, and it's the latest addition to the light blue range of fragrances from Dolce & Gabbana. This is Light Blue Forever, and it comes in an eau de parfum concentration, and it's described as a woody aquatic fragrance for men. This opens up with the notes of grapefruit and bergamot, but you may as well just forget about the bergamot because the grapefruit note in this fragrance is absolutely insane. Right from the first spray, you're hit with an intense explosion of bitter sour grapefruit, which is very realistic and it's impossible to miss. There's not many fragrances that I've come across with such a prominent opening note, but this just grabs your attention straight away. There's also some ozonic notes in there which give it a more watery feel, and it's extremely fresh and uplifting, and it's just like being splashed in the face with a glass of cold water. It's such a cool and crisp opening and very effervescent and summery. As it dries down, the grapefruit remains the most prominent note, but there's also a hint of violet leaf that comes through, which brings like a pleasant, slightly sweet powderiness to the heart of the scent. And then there's vetiver, patchouli and musk in the base that provide a bit of backbone and longevity to it. I've got to say though, this to my nose is about 80% grapefruit, and all the other notes together make up the other 20%. So if you aren't a fan of the grapefruit note, then you might want to swerve this one in because it might not be the one for you. This gets loads of rave reviews and it is a great smelling scent, but I personally prefer the overall smell of the Eau Intense version, and it's only when you compare them side by side that you realise just how bitter and sour this is compared to the others in the line. This however works much better as a gym scent though, because it retains its freshness for pretty much the life of the scent, and you're constantly catching this lovely uplifting wafts as you kind of move around and get about your workout. It's very long lasting, and it's one that I'd also definitely recommend that you pack in your suitcase if you're about to jet off on a summer holiday. It's got a lovely summertime feel about it, and it's perfect for the beach. I also own the Love is Love version and also the Sun version, but out of all of these, I would still say that the Eau Intense is my favourite overall, but this one for the gym. Okay, next up we have a bit of a wild card entry into the list, and this is definitely the spicy one of the bunch. It's another one from Ralph Lauren, and this is Polo Red Intense from 2015, which doesn't get mentioned that much anymore, but I think it's the best one out of the Polo Red lineup. This is the one with the Go Faster stripes down the centre of the bottle, and not to be confused with the original Polo Red, or the Red Rush, or the Red Extreme, or even the latest release, which is the EDP version. This is a unique smelling fragrance with a really interesting note breakdown, with notes like cranberry, coffee, saffron and red cedar blending with the bright citruses and light florals, which produces a fragrance that's really powerful and active. Even though there's darker, sweeter notes in the base like leather and amber and coffee, it stays fairly fresh and bright all the way through. It's pretty spicy, and the ginger in the heart of the scent is quite prominent throughout, and it's not like at Spice Bomb extreme levels, but there's a definite like peppery kick to it. It's quite a powerful masculine smelling fragrance, and if you're the guy who walks straight past the cardio machines in the gym and you head straight for the free weights, then I would say this one's for you. Even the bottle design resembles the paintwork of an American muscle car, and this is definitely a man's fragrance. It's a very stylish smelling scent that has a real presence about it. You could wear this pretty much all year round, and it's one of only 2 fragrances in this list that I would be more than happy to wear dressed up for a night out, as well as to wear it as a gym scent. It lasts all day, and it has a fairly strong projection, so go easy on the sprays if you do decide to wear this one to the gym. Okay, so the 8th one in today's list has definitely got to win an award for being the most underrated fragrance ever, because it never gets a mention in any top 10 list, and I think it smells absolutely awesome. This one is Ultra Red from PACO Rabanne, and this was launched back in 2008. It's definitely the sweetest one in today's list, with the notes of blood orange, praline, tonka bean, patchouli and vanilla, producing an extremely sweet and juicy and fruity aroma. It's not the most masculine smelling fragrance, but boy does it smell good, and it's extremely addictive. It's very playful and youthful, and has a really kind of casual, summery vibe going on. It opens up with a big fresh blast of the blood orange, but it's not long before it's joined by the sweet notes, and it kind of resembles like a chocolate orange aroma, but it's much more juicy rather than being cloyingly sweet or sickly. It's a simple, no-nonsense citrus gourmand fragrance, and like the DIOR HOMME Sport, it kind of just makes you wish you could eat it or drink it. It's a great, versatile, all year round dumb reach fragrance that gets me complimented every single time I wear it, and it would make for a stunning gym scent. This was discontinued a while ago now, but you can still pick it up. It's still pretty readily available at discounters, and I actually got this particular one from Amazon. I think I paid around about 27 quid for a 100ml bottle size, and it's absolutely stunning. Okay, so the second to last one that I'm going to talk about today is Clinique Happy for Men, and pretty much everything you need to know about this fragrance is kind of right here in the bottle design. First of all, it's a really bright and uplifting scent that actually does have a really happy and summery quality about it. Then there's the blast of zesty mandarin orange, which is supported by the lemon, lime and oceanic notes in the opening, and it instantly makes you think of like the summertime. The translucent orange glass bottle really suits how this fragrance smells, because it does actually smell very orangey, like maybe you stood amongst a lot of orange trees in the heat of the midday sun, and that's kind of what I get from this one. There are some white florals in there, and there's also some green notes including cypress, which bring a clean but ever so slight bitterness to the blend. The initial first spray is probably the worst part of this fragrance, and I think it could maybe put a few people off, but as it dries down it starts to come into its own after about the 10 or 15 minutes or so. I remember the first time that I wore this one, and I thought it smelled awful at first, and it was kind of borderline offensive in the opening, but then everybody started commenting and telling me how nice I smelled after about the half-hour mark, so you need to kind of let this one settle a bit first before you judge it. I'd say this ticks every box in the sport category. It's cool, clean, fresh and uplifting with a nice arm's length projection, so you're going to be able to catch wafts of it as you're working out, but it's not going to choke anybody out that's kind of within your vicinity. You could pick this one up for around about the £25 mark, and it's a really good one to throw in your gym bag or just to wear casually on a hot summer day. Okay, so I may have told a little white lie at the start of this video when I said that the list wasn't in any particular order, because I have actually saved the best one until last. This is the king of the sport fragrances, and very few people in the fragrance community would disagree with me on this one. This is Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme, which is totally predictable, I know, but it is simply the first one that I'd recommend to anybody who's looking for an all-round fresh sports fragrance that's versatile enough to wear as a gym scent, as well as being an all-year-round signature scent for any occasion. It opens up with lovely tart mandarin orange. We've got mint, cypress and also sage, and straight away you get this gorgeous refined quality that's just it's like a level up from most fresh fragrances. Nothing really stands out in terms of singular notes, and everything's just so well blended, and you do get a combination of fresh mandarin and like some green herbal notes, and then as it dries down the woods and the musk start to come through, and it's sweetened up a little bit by the tonka bean. You just get this like lovely creaminess as well, and the result is like an extremely addictive scent that's so seductive and so sexy. It's one of my all-time most complimented fragrances, and it rarely fails to get me noticed whenever I wear it. It isn't cheap though, and it's actually the most expensive one in this list, coming in at £102 for this 100ml bottle size. But as the saying goes, you get what you pay for, and there's no mistake in the blend quality of this scent. You know you're wearing something a little bit special when you apply this to your skin, and for me it's possibly the most versatile fragrance that you'll ever buy, alongside also Bleu de Chanel from this brand. Yeah, so in summary, if money wasn't a factor, I would go for the Chanel or the Dior Homme Sport. All the other ones in this list are absolutely great, safe blind buys if you're on a budget, and they'll all bring you something a little bit different. If you want total freshness, then the Light Blue Forever is the one to go for. If you like sweeter fragrances, then the ULTRARED is your pick of the crop. And if you want something a bit more bold and spicy, then maybe the POLO Red Intense is the one to pull the trigger on. Yes, so that's about it for this sports fragrance recommendations video, and I hope there's been at least one of them on the list that's maybe inspired you to go out and try one for yourself. This video isn't sponsored by any brand or fragrance outlet, and I don't get paid a single penny for recommending any of these fragrances that I've spoken about today, so you can be confident that all of these have been my own choices and my own opinions, and I'm not being told what to say in return for any financial reward. All I ask though is if you've found the content useful, then please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any future uploads. I also enjoy reading about your own personal favourites, so let me know down in the comments what fragrance you enjoy wearing at the gym, and maybe I can also discover something new and maybe also feature it in my next list. So once again, thank you very much for tuning in. Stay safe, keep smelling fresh, and I'll see you very soon for another one. Bye bye for now.